Welcome to Sliders and Wings, a podcast about the TV show Sliders
and the TV show Wings
and all the other forgotten TV shows of the 90s.
This is Valerie Temple.
And I'm Rachel Cox.
Hey, Rachel, what's up?
Hey, Val, how are you?
Good. What's been going on?
Nothing. I did a little day trip to go snow tubing, and then I went to Allentown with my oldest son, and now I'm back.
Oh, you got out of the house. That's so nice.
And I was like, oh man, this is such a fulfilling trip. And then I added up how many hours I've been gone, and it was 25. God, I thought was gone longer.
I mean, I think since we've been inside so long, like just being outside for like 45 minutes feels like a week. So I think
maybe it's more alarming how much money I was able to spend in 25 hours. In a hotel room and stuff, but
I think you can also blame quarantine on that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're just like, I'll spend it all.
We have a very special guest tonight. It's my sister, Sarah Cox. Welcome, Sarah.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Val.
We had this show. This was one of the first shows we put on the list because it stuck out as such a forgotten show. So forgotten. Yeah. I mean, I thought only Sarah and I remembered it.
Oh no, I definitely remember. So we're talking about the Torkelsons today, and yes. And I definitely remember it. It's one of those shows that I feel like it just wafts in and out of my brain. Like I'll just all of a sudden think I'll look at the moon and I'll be like, hello, the man in the moon, you know? And then I'm like, why? This show poisoned my brain.
Oh, well, for me, it's the theme song.
Yeah.
Because there's two 80s theme songs that I remember them and then I forget them and then I remember them. One is The Family Ties and one is Growing Pains. And they're similar and they're both very kind of like melodramatic and slow and maudlin. But this one I've never forgotten. It is so memorable.
I am very obsessed with like downbeat, sad theme songs for sitcoms. It's just like, hey, are you guys ready for some comedy? And it's just like so sad. You're just like, oh.
I mean, the Full House one is kind of in a minor key, and
I don't know. It's sort of the best thing about this show, and also perhaps its downfall, because you're right, it is a sad song, and the show is mostly a comedy, and probably a lot of people just tuned in and heard this song, and I don't want to listen to this downer. But it's also just such a good song. I mean, it's better than the show itself. I mean, I think actually they would have done a lot better just keeping the song and making that like a Shania Twain hit. And the whole show.
It's a banger. It comes in hot. You know, you're just like, whoa. Stays hot.
Wait, you guys both? I know Val might know because she does research, but Sarah, did you Google who sang this?
No, in all my Wikipediaing and IMDbing, I did not look that up.
I didn't find out until 10 minutes ago.
Oh, I know.
It's the Judds.
The Judds.
Oh, yes.
Unless there's another The Judds.
No.
That means Naomi and Winona Judd.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, the Judds. There's got to be like its own Wikipedia page about this song. I was trying to find more information about this specific Judds song, and there's really nothing. It's just...
I mean, I think they didn't write it. They just performed it.
So presumably it was written as a theme song. Does it have a title?
I tried. I truly did. But I think it is just like the Torkelsons theme song.
Yeah, find out whether it won any Grammys. Or...
I know, because it should have. It's just... So good. It is like you get on your feet. It's just like, this is of theme songs for TV shows, this is the one where you'd be like, you know, taking out your lighter.
It could still happen, but the Torkelsons could get an EGOT. You know, they could get they could turn into a movie, they could turn into a play, a musical.
I mean, you know.
Okay, so if you could describe this show in 4 words, I already have mine already. Well, I'll tell you mine. Mine is country. Oh, 2 words. Country Roseanne. Although Country Roseanne is really Grace Under Fire. And this, I think, is not, it's more sentimental than Roseanne. Like Grace Under Fire is a more apt analogy because it's kind of got that bitter edge to it, like that sarcastic edge, whereas this is more heartfelt and.
This has no edge. It almost felt like a play to me, like a homespun play.
For sure. And particularly because I thought the blocking
Our Town.
They're so like the physical comedy is great. You know, like Chucky Lee runs in and the mom like holds him back by his forehead.
Yeah. There's too many kids. There's 5 kids and there's a single mom.
And I always thought the dad was dead, but it turns out he ran out on them.
He ran out on them.
He comes back later in the first season.
Yes, I don't remember that part.
And like I think he's played by Greg Henry, who is like a character actor you would recognize if you saw him. Yeah, I mean, how would I describe this show in 4 words? I don't know. Homespun. Is probably what I would say. I also have to say that like I don't know if Accent Corner can be just a single segment today. This whole
it pervades.
Okay, I have Accent Corner. Do people in Oklahoma have Southern accents?
No, they don't.
This is supposed to be in Oklahoma.
I know a guy from Oklahoma, and he speaks in a very flat Midwestern.
I know someone from Tulsa, and she doesn't have an accent, but you know, if that's the biggest city in Oklahoma, it may not.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on where they're in a weird, like what Grover's Corners type town.
But you know that joke by oh my god, I can't remember his name. Amber Tamlin's husband from Mr. Show. That's how I'm describing him.
David Cross.
David Cross had a bit in his stand-up where he said that the country accent like this is just it's not regional. It's like all over the U.S. And I thought of him like I guess this is how they talk in just small towns in Oklahoma.
No, I mean that's actually true. Like in Southern Ohio, they sound like that. In Southern Indiana, they sound like that.
The accents there was really a wide range of accents on this show, and I looked up later where some of these actors were from to see who was legit and who wasn't. So, what is it? Connie Ray is
Connie Ray. She's the
from
mom.
North Carolina. Now Dorothy Jane, her accent is so over the top. I said, there's no way she's actually Southern. Turns out she's from New York, the actress.
No kidding. No.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I can't tell an over the top fake one from an over the top real one. I mean, she and the mom sound the same. They both sound ridiculous.
But what was interesting was it reminded me of another show that has a wide gamut of accents, which is Ozark. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys watch this show, but
you're skipping ahead to what you're watching, but okay.
Yeah. Blending segments. But one character, Ruth, has a really, what sounds like an over-the-top country or Southern or whatever Ozarkian accent, and that actress is from New York. So, and it sounds very similar to Dorothy Jane. So, to me now, this is the New Yorkers' idea of
version
of a big Southern or country accent.
I could not. Dorothy Jane's voice was really annoying me. Like it was just so squeaky.
She's grating, yeah.
Yeah, it was very squeaky and just also she was like an extremely annoying character. Like she was just like very like she complained a lot and she was upset a lot and it was a lot of like, oh mom, you know.
I mean, teenagers are so fun.
Right. I want clothes made out of curtain.
So reasonable.
Oh, I can't have store-bought clothes.
None of the other kids are complaining. But see, I think probably like what I remember most about this show is, and this is probably because Rachel and I would repeat this for years later, but just her saying, "Man in the Moon."
The Man in the Moon.
Number one song. Number 2, Man in the Moon.
So what's this show about, guys?
It's
kind of like it's a sitcom version of the Dolly Parton song "Coat of Many Colors."
Right, exactly. It's about poor folks, you know,
in a giant Victorian house.
A giant Victorian house that they can't afford, and so they have to make all of their own clothes. And
like the house looks huge, and they're arguing over how there's no extra room for this border. I'm like,
well, there are already 6 people. It could be a 6-bedroom house.
Okay, kids sleep together.
Up some of those kids.
2 or 3 kids together, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could honestly get rid of a couple of those.
Well, and I have to say, so like.
Well, they did in the second season, Sarah. They just eliminated them.
Well, good. Yeah, they didn't even have a line in the
But I will say that until I did the research for this week, the show that this turned into, I thought I mean, I guess it is, but I thought it was a completely unrelated show that just
That's what they wanted you to think.
It worked. Oh, look, this has got two of the people from Torkelsons on it.
I had no idea. I had no idea that they retooled the show and like relaunched it as like a different show. They're like, oh,
Homeward Bound or something.
Almost home.
And it had Brittany Murphy in it.
Brittany Murphy.
Sorry, did they keep the song in?
No, different song I saw.
Really?
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's nothing about it that, I mean, was their last name in Torkelson?
No, it was. So like I guess it's like they moved to Seattle. Like, I guess it's like they finally lose the house in Oklahoma and move to Seattle, which is, it's just like, okay, so you move to a more expensive city? I don't understand what you're trying to do. And then they're like
these Chinese migrants from the country going to Beijing to work as a...
It's the grapes of wrath, though. It's just like they're moving west, seeing what they can make of their future, you know, and then Brittany Murphy's there. And also Jason Marsden, who not
James.
No, Jason Marsden, who
is he his brother?
I don't think they're related, but he's
a cute little shorty.
He's a cute little shorty, and he does a lot of voice acting, and he was the voice of Thackeray Binks, the cat in Hocus Pocus. Okay. So he was also in Erie, Indiana, like the second season of Erie, Indiana. But like he's just like
I mean, he's just such a. I mean, I think Sarah, you'll just recognize him.
But he's also like the voice of Max Goof in a Goofy movie. So he does a lot of like voice acting. I seriously though had no idea that they tried to like relaunch the show in a different format, and which made me wonder why. Like why
if it wasn't working, just
why
show.
Why did the Torkelsons get a second chance? You know what I'm saying? Like that we've seen some shows that I was like, oh, this, you know, this had something to it. I don't know if this has much to it.
Also, another point about this show, everybody's, of course, because they're country bumpkins, they all have two names.
They all have double names.
They also all use each other's double names every single time they address them. Where are you going, Chucky Lee? I'm just going upstairs, Ruth Ann, and every single line. It's like you're the only person.
Well, that adds about 5 minutes to the show. So
exactly, they're padding it out. Like you can tell like who they were going to keep because those are the three that they focused on in the pilot.
Right. Stephen Floyd had 0 lines in the pilot.
He ran in and was just like, they were like, hey, stop.
I don't think we even saw his face.
Yeah, exactly. And then like Ruth Ann, she was just memorable for like what she was wearing.
She was dressed as Blossom, basically.
And she was just a foil to Dorothy Jane. She's always trying to embarrass her.
Right, but she looked crazy. Like, she was wearing cowboy boots and this weird floppy hat, and
it was the 90s.
Okay, we're now in the segment the most 90s.
Okay, I'm ready for that.
Okay. Go for it.
I mean, this show, I just want to say the hair and the florals were incredible. Yes. I mean, all the throw pillows and the clothes and the florals everywhere. It was
it's overwhelming. You know,
Laura Ashley.
There's so many patterns everywhere that it was hard for me to look at.
Fit with the narrative of their, you know, old Victorian house, and the mom works upholstering furniture on the side. But the hair of Dorothy Jane and the mom was just amazing. And actually, I was so curious what happened to Olivia Burnette, the actress who played Dorothy Jane. It turns out not much since, but also without that big curly 90s hair, she just looks totally different.
Really? Oh, I want to see a picture because
she kind of looks like Brittany Murphy though. Like I kind of confuse them in my mind.
Yeah.
She also like looks sort of like that girl who from Step by Step, like kind of like the little petite brunette.
Or Stacey Keenan.
Stacey Keaton.
Keenan.
Yeah, Stacey.
Who herself looked like a knockoff Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yes. So there was a lot of like girls in that mold during that era.
It makes me so sad though to think of all the women with that hair right now who are ironing it.
Well, not now. 90s are back now.
I don't think I've seen hair that big though. Don't you think?
But in the early aughts.
No, here's the thing. Okay, I have thoughts on just the way I've got thoughts on spectacles. I have thoughts on curly hair. People like curly hair now, but they don't like it frizzy. And back then, it could be frizzy. I saw it was so frizzy all the time. But now I think it has to be like
defined,
smoothed and defined and like moisturized and like I don't think
ringlets.
I want
beautiful. Well, I mean, times have changed. People have, you know, discovered conditioner and different products.
Do you know that Patty Stanger from Millionaire Matchmaker, she would tell every girl with curly hair to straighten her hair because she said men don't like to run their hands through curly hair. They want straight hair.
No, I have had long straight hair my whole life and no man has ever run his hand through my hair.
But as a millionaire?
Yeah, exactly, Sarah. Millionaires are different, so
let's see if we can bring up Millionaire Matchmaker in every episode because
I know it's a fascinating show. Patty Stanger is a fascinating individual. Rachel,
the most 90s.
Yeah, what's your most 90s thing?
I was actually going to say the same thing as Sarah. The clothes, specifically Ruth Ann's clothes, the floppy velvet blossom looking hat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a tough time with thinking of the most 90s thing for this show because to me this show doesn't seem like it's from the 90s. Like if you told me it was from 1983, I would believe you. Like it seems to exist in an alternate time, you know, like it doesn't seem like, oh, it's 90s. It's like this weird, like they don't exist in a world touched by like pop culture or like technology.
Do you think a big part of that is just, you know, the whole setting that they're supposed to be poor, nothing they have is modern, they live in this old Victorian house, it looks like that, you know, in their kitchen they have like a freestanding stove from 1930.
Right. And but also like just like the premise of the episode, like what happens, the events of the episode are so old timey. It's like
cotillion.
They mention a cotillion. They rent out a room and there's this like traveling man who
they put an ad in the paper.
Put an ad in the paper and he's
for a boarder.
For a boarder, as if that's something that like people do now. Yeah. It just seems so old. Oh, and then
so you want to change the segment to That's So 30s?
Right, exactly.
The most 30s.
When she's trying to like haggle for like when she's trying to like trick the appliance store into giving her a new washer and dryer, she takes out like a old timey washboard and she's like, here's a washing machine. I'm like, what?
I mean, the whole thing is out of the Dust Bowl.
Yeah, it really was. I was like stunned by it. It really
like it seemed like a period piece.
Yeah, it would make more sense as a period piece if it was like Pollyanna or something like. But as the idea that it was like playing in between Golden Girls and Empty Nest on NBC at 8:30 on Saturdays is just bonkers to me.
So do you think that's why I never found an audience? People were like, where's the 90s? Hello, I'm in the 90s. I want those modern references.
Yes.
That's like, true. It does feel like maybe like very Annie-ish. Like
the sensibility, like the tone of the show is just really not modern, you know, like, and not even like not modern, like modern, the 90s version of modern. It just seems very I don't know.
I guess it was a little bit cutting edge that the dad ran off, because until then, whenever there had been like a missing parent, usually they were widowed or widower or something. But
yeah, that was a big, there was, everyone was always like
too hot for its time.
Everyone always had a dead parent. Yeah, but
yeah. Can we talk about border Hodges? This whole scenario, I remember, I mean, from my memory of this show is that, you know, it was sort of a charming thing, this nice old man that they took in. It was a, you know, a mutually beneficial situation, people down on their luck, helping each other out. But watching this, especially as a parent now, like, or just as an adult, you know, this guy comes in off the street, read the ad, wants to rent a room. Okay, sure, sir. I'm not going to do a background check or even have a conversation with you. Take a room, you know, go, you know,
Any room you want.
Next door to all my small children.
Yeah, any room you want. I've got 5 kids.
Yeah.
I won't really even ask your last name. Like you're just we could
forget about check a sex offender registry.
Yeah, we call you border because we won't even like that.
This might be pre-registry.
It's just like just because he seems like a nice old man, like
and also like in the end, I mean their standards are so low that at the end of the episode he wins over Dorothy Jane's heart by just backing off from stealing her bedroom.
Right.
Okay, fine. I'll live in the basement. You can keep your bedroom. Oh, what a nice old man.
Okay, I cried at that scene.
Oh, God.
Rachel. No.
Well, let's just say what the synopsis is because we haven't described what the hell the show is. Torkelsons is about a gigantic family, a woman with a bunch of kids, and the dad ran off, at least in the beginning. We just watched the pilot episode. So in the pilot, we established that Dorothy Jane is the oldest daughter. She has a gigantic room the size of an apartment, and she has a box seat where she kind of has these monologues where she talks to the moon.
She's got a window seat. She's got a window seat, which to me, as a viewer, as a kid in the 90s,
was the height of luxury.
Yes, I thought window seats were so fancy. So it just didn't like connect to me that she was supposed to be poor because I was like, look at your luxurious window seat. Stop complaining. But
yeah, I also thought the window seat was really nice.
Yeah.
But basically,
what did
she thinks
what did she say? It's like her shelter against the storm is that the room is her sanctuary from the storm is what her room is. So.
I mean, basically, she's a very moody teenager. She's the oldest daughter, like the oldest child of a big family, usually has a bunch of burdens and responsibilities on them. And she's 14 or something, so a freshman.
14.
And then she just finds her family very embarrassing. And then this really cute boy, this all happens in the pilot. A boy moves next door with his parents, and he's very nice. And he's like a senior. He's 4 years older. And
he looks so much older than her, by the way. I was like,
he's like a head and half taller than her.
He looked kind of like George Clooney.
Yeah,
I wrote a note on that. I was wondering who he was.
He was cute. Yeah, he played Jimmy Olsen in Lois and Clark.
Oh yes. Which is also on our list.
It is. I'm looking forward to that. I feel like we should move it up on the list because I kind of want to watch it.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, he seemed really like, I was like, he was very nice and very kind to her, but like
he's like a cross between George Clooney and BJ Novak.
Right. He had this like brown hair. He looked very clean cut, and but he looked way older than her, but like even the mom, as soon as he like
was also
wearing
a sports jacket. I feel like that just made him look older. He
didn't look older. But like as soon
as
I think
Dorothy Jane is just really, really small.
She's like really, really little. Yeah. And she's wearing these like oversized floppy floral dresses that just make her look like she's 12 years old. But like as soon as he shows up, the mom, Connie Ray, is like, "Ooh, he's a prime candidate for your dance card." And I was like, "Ew."
Oh no, but she does say to her right away, "He's too old for you, Dorothy Jane." I was like, too bad.
But like that was the first thing that she said, though, and like also like using the phrase "dance card" is also just
another 1930s.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, they just talked about the cotillions, so I mean, I guess that was like a callback or something. But
so what happens is that they move in, and the mother immediately goes over there and invites them all to dinner. It's just like, okay, you've just said that you have no money. What meal are you making? Like you don't have any. It's just like the last thing that someone with no money would do would be invite someone to their home.
Simultaneously with their washer and dryer being repossessed.
The primary plot's about the repossession of the appliances with this other stuff peppered in.
I think the episode is called Fence Neighbors.
The whole time you're watching, you're like, but what's going on with the appliances?
Yeah, but the episode is called Fence Neighbors.
Get back to the washing machine.
Which they make a big deal out of. They're like, well, you're our fence neighbors. As if
I really like that term.
Is that a term that anyone else says? You know, like I
hadn't heard it before, but it felt so natural. I don't know, either maybe I have heard it or it just is so intuitive.
Especially if you say it like fence neighbors, you're like, oh, that does sound nice.
Did you notice during the dinner party they had put up a sign in their living rooms that said, welcome fence neighbors?
Yeah, there was like a big banner across the wall, welcome fence neighbors.
And speaking of these fence neighbors, you know, we're to believe this family is, you know, really destitute, but it must be a pretty decent neighborhood they're living in, because this family that just moved in seems pretty well off. You know, they all show up in sports coats.
That also didn't make sense to me. This is like a rich person who moves from town to town, liquidating all of the leftover real estate or something, and they live next to them. So I would assume that they live
a future plot point.
Oh, I don't know,
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is.
I would say like that's pretty 90s, I guess. But
setting that up.
Like the internet doesn't exist, so we can't just do it from his living room. He's got to actually move there and like liquidate the property from a physical location. Yeah, that told me that it was like they're in the worst house on a nice block or something, you know?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it is a gigantic Victorian house, so it could just be like that's the nicest thing they have, and they're just holding on to it like by their fingernails, you know?
Now, how does everyone, so anyway, the plot is that basically she has the family over and his parents are really nice, but also Hodges, the potential boarder, shows up at the same time and everyone's in the house. And while this is all going on, and Dorothy Jane is just super embarrassed because she likes this boy and she doesn't want him to be exposed to her. Her mother is just very almost intentionally embarrassing.
She's humiliated by everything.
Yeah, she's just humiliated by her clothes. She's humiliated by what her mom says. She's humiliated by just literally everything that comes up.
She did not mention being embarrassed by the fact that there is a clothesline on their front porch.
But then they finally come and repossess her washer and dryer while everyone is there. What was most unnerving to me the whole time was the cheerfulness of the mom. Well, on the one hand, the cliche of the stressed out mom who's just like so worn down and tired and like the Roseanne, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a cliche, but you would expect a woman under all these burdens to act stressed out and unpleasant. And she's the opposite of that. So I like anything that doesn't play into a trope. So it does seem like, okay, well, that's a little bit different. Like she's looking on the bright side of things and trying to stay cheerful. And I think this Connie Ray is a really good actress. And there's a point towards the end when, okay, so I would say the crescendo or the climax of the episode is when this boarder says he wants Dorothy Jane's room. And this is about to solve, at least temporarily, their financial problems. And the mother is just wants this guy to be the boarder no matter what the circumstances are. And Dorothy Jane is very, very upset. This is her room. She doesn't want this kid. You know, you feel bad for her. Like she's a teenager. And as a parent, I just put myself in any situation and just imagine what that would feel like. And she says, this is, you know, she says like this is where I was like starting to get really emotional. This is the last thing I wanted to do, Dorothy Jane, but this is it. This is what we have to do. Like, I have to give your room away. Like, and she said, why didn't you warn me? And she said, because I was hoping something would come through at the last minute that would save us. And they're having this whole conversation and the boarder is listening unbeknownst to them. And he's moved by their plight. And that's when he just kind of lies and says that he would rather live in the basement or whatever. And I started crying.
Okay, so hearing that conversation is what turned things for him. Whereas if he hadn't heard firsthand how upset Dorothy Jane was, he would have otherwise been okay taking her bedroom.
The blocking was kind of weird. I couldn't tell if he knew it was her room or if because like, so
and also,
you know,
why
the mother's
around upstairs by himself.
Yeah, I had a lot of questions.
He hadn't moved in yet.
They didn't even like really like establish why he needed a room, like who he was, where he was coming from. Yeah, I mean, like how long
he's coming from some kind of shady background.
It's like
to be renting a room for $75.
Yeah, you're in Oklahoma, this weird town in Oklahoma. You don't have a place to stay. You're answering an ad in the paper. Where did you come from?
I'm surprised that you said like you think Connie Ray's a good actor and you're moved by that scene. I thought she was a great comedic actress, but I think twice in the episode it came to a very poignant, serious scene, and I thought it totally crumbled for me. And I felt like embarrassed for her that I thought the acting was so poor and so unnatural.
What was the other one?
That scene and the scene in the washing machine store.
Oh,
that was awkward.
That's so like at the end of the episode, they are the like button at the end of the episode is they go to this like washing machine store or like appliance store, I guess, washing machine store, and like Connie Ray's trying to like, she's like brought in this ad that says, you know, you can turn in your old washing machine and get a new one for free. And to her, she's trying to like get them on like syntax and like get them on a technicality.
No matter the condition.
Is that you said no matter the condition, and it's just like the most embarrassing scene. Like it was
word and clothesline.
It's just like so humiliating. But then that's where like Dorothy Jane decides that it's weird because Dorothy Jane has been humiliated by her mom like the whole episode. But then during the scene where it is humiliating, this is a like really like low, weird thing to be trying. Like Dorothy Jane like comes in, it's like, don't you be mean to my mom, and then she like turns the whole store against the like worker. She's like, we won't shop here anymore, neither should you, because they're a liar and the ad's lying to you. And then like the whole store is like, yeah, you suck, and then they like give them a new washer and dryer. Well, that's what it seemed like.
In sitcoms always live in a world where somehow like the people that run a store are beholden to whatever was printed and that they actually can't make their own decisions. Like in real life, the store can do whatever the fuck they want.
Right.
Well, but it's an odd deal to be offering anyway, because I mean, I don't know why an appliance store wants an old washer and dryer regardless of condition. It seems like more of a burden. You know, usually whenever you replace an appliance, like you're supposed to pay extra for them to haul the old one away.
Right.
Well, there are appliance stores in West Philly that just have old beaten down appliances that are super cheap, and landlords like us go and buy them to put in their rental properties. So I think that they must sell them wholesale. But like, it doesn't make sense. Like if this woman has no money and she's taking in a boarder, I think she could live without a washing machine for a while. Okay. In the scene where the guy is saying, I hope that's the room that's for rent, and Dorothy's saying, so he's talking to the mom on one side, and then she's behind her is Dorothy Jane, and she's going, but mama, that's my room. That's my sanctuary. It's unclear the way they've blocked it, whether he can hear Dorothy Jane. You know what I mean? Like, because there's a doorway there, and it's like, well, maybe he can't hear her. He can't hear her at that first moment pleading and saying, that's my room. No, you're right. Like, they're at the bottom of the stairs.
Yeah, they're at the bottom of the stairs, right in the entryway. I think it's supposed to be dramatic irony that obviously he's standing 18 inches away from Dorothy Jane. He should be able to hear her, but
there's almost like there's like asides, like there's just like this really theatrical stage whispers, these, you know, they're the people who are the blocking is really just as if they're on a stage, and just also like these man on the moon monologues that Dorothy Jane has to the moon they're just weird.
Well, they have no substance in them. It's just a bunch of jokes and complaints about, I mean, they don't provide any insight or narrative, I think.
They could have just had her,
they don't propel the story along.
It could have been like Doogie Howser writing in his like diary or something, or
Zach
like
Morris talking to the camera.
Correct. But like they're so strange that they don't really like endear you to her. They just sort of feel odd. There are a lot of things in this show that just sort of made me cringe.
But I guess the whole thing with the border is it is very stagey. You're just kind of you're given to believe that he did not realize until this moment of eavesdropping that he was affecting her life by taking the room, and he good-naturedly agreed to sleep in the basement instead, which I don't know. I guess I thought that the mother's acting was good and the daughter's acting was good in that scene. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, where's the dad? Everyone is stressed. There's no money. Like, it was just very tense, and it was like,
well,
I don't know.
Yeah,
oh my gosh, I thought it was so cheesy and awful and unnatural.
Yeah, me too.
I'm just so blown away that you think that was good. I was cringing during that scene that I was like,
I gotta go.
The comedic acting was I was with it. It was funny. It was, the dialogue was quick, and then suddenly gets serious. And I was like, oh no, this all fell apart.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of like what's so weird about the show is that like it is like a sort of a tonal roller coaster, because you think it's sort of, it's like a half-hour sitcom. So you're like, okay, it's going to be funny all the way through, but they really kind of lean into this like sweet and tender stuff a lot. It's like very schmaltzy.
Maybe the reason why I bought into it was because all the funny parts, I could tell there was this undercurrent of stress and sadness that the mother was like putting on this front, but she is really miserable and there's all these serious things going on, but she's trying to make the best of it. So when the facade broke down, I was like prepared to believe that was what was really happening, and that maybe I was just in a bad mood. I don't know. Maybe I was just
No, I mean, I get it. Like I feel like if I was in a certain mood, I'd like it would be something that would like make me misty, but I don't know if I was in the mood for it. It seems like sort of like a very specific taste.
Maybe it was what made it so unbelievable for me when it suddenly got earnest, was because prior to that point, it had been so over the top slapstick. And then to all of it, I mean, of course, the premise, surely there's something serious going on there in the background, that this mom is, raising kids alone,
struggling,
and not really succeeding too well. Yeah, it was just such an abrupt turn from the tone of the rest of the show.
Yeah. And then there's just like there's weird stuff all over the place in their house too. Did you guys notice that giant painting of like two poodles like in their dining room? It was just like above the mantle.
No.
It was very weird. Like
okay, but there was a scene where she goes around to the like the rich neighbors, and when they're over for dinner, and she's showing them some like tchotchkes she brought from the thrift store and asking them how much she thinks I was like, yeah, just like me.
Rachel, I also thought that. Oh my god, that's so Rachel.
I know.
Yes, how much?
How much do you think this would have cost me at a retail? Well, how much do you think I paid for it? It's like when people say, "Oh, I like your sweater," I go, "It's from a thrift store."
You're like, it was $2.
It was $4.99.
No, I felt like personally attacked by that as well, because it was very. I think that's one of the things I did really like about the show, is that it did feel realistic in that way of like, this is like a family that goes to thrift stores. It didn't seem like just something laid on as a detail, like they go to thrift stores, and that was written by someone who does go to thrift stores and knows what that's like. Maybe
I'd have to see more to know that.
Yeah.
But if they do go to thrift stores, then why does the mom have to make all the kids clothes?
Okay, this is my question. This is my burning question from the show. Like, as someone who kind of knows how to sew, but not expertly, I could not conceive of a situation where I would like to, like, where I could just whip up a shirt.
Right.
Instead of going to the thrift store and getting a $2 shirt.
Right.
I understand that she has no money. Okay, so if I had like no money, well, number one, if I had no money, I wouldn't have people over for dinner and give them food. But the thought that you would be so expert at sewing that it would be easier for you to make a shirt from scratch out of a tablecloth than to go to the thrift store, which I'm sure was nearby, and spend $3 on a shirt. It's mind-boggling.
Rachel, didn't you make your own napkins for your wedding?
I made the table. No, I can make things, but they're not. I could not make a shirt. I mean, I could not whip up a shirt.
Yeah, that's a square.
You were talking about 3 dimensions, Val.
Yeah, you're
if
true.
we're talking 2 dimensions, I'm your lady. But in terms of 3 dimensions,
and also, I mean, I can't remember the mom. What is Millicent?
Millicent, yeah. Millicent Torkelson.
She is an extremely skilled seamstress. In the very first scene, we see little Mary Sue running into the tower bedroom, and she has this like puffy pinafore dress with a petticoat, and her doll has a matching dress that apparently Millicent took one of Dorothy Jane's old shirts, her special occasion blouse, to make these 2 dresses. Those were elaborate pieces.
They were. And Dorothy Jane, of course, is just like horrified that her mom would do such a thing, would take her special occasion blouse and turn it into clothes for her younger sister.
I'm just feeling so guilty about the bag of socks I just threw in the trash.
I know.
Old kid socks with holes in them.
I mean,
could have made something.
You could have done so much. Like, you're just throwing money in the garbage, really.
So how do we think? Do you think it was good as a pilot? Was this a good pilot? Does it set the stage for the show? Does it make you want to watch another episode?
It did make me want to learn more backstory about how their family came to be in that position.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I felt like it was like a really busy pilot, to be honest. Like, there's just so many kids.
I think that this
we barely even met the kids, and then we're throwing in the border and the next door neighbors and the stuff about the the washer and dryer. I just felt like there was just like way too much happening, and I got kind of overwhelmed. I mean, there was one kid who didn't even have a line. Like, I feel like for maybe it would have been better if it was just, we're meeting the family, letting that breathe a little more, and then like the border thing happens. But like the stuff with the fence neighbors, I think is like one too many things, and then it just like ends up being kind of like muddled and like not successful.
Yeah, I do think that the pilots we've watched that have stuck to just one plot have been stronger.
Yeah.
In retrospect, it feels like all of those little plot lines were all constructed and added in just to get to that chaotic final scene of the dinner party with the fence neighbors and the border and the repo man and all the kids.
Right.
There's an entire plot thread that we
wanted to get to this crazy scene, like that, scene in the Burbs when everyone's sitting awkwardly in the living room.
Yes.
There's a whole plot thread that we haven't discussed.
What's that?
Was the guy that brings his stool, who's an admirer of Millicent's.
Oh, and
he just hangs around acting jealous the whole time. Pardon?
Yeah, he comes to the dinner party too, and he's jealous of the border. He's like, "Oh, you just moved in with Millicent? I can move in. He's like,
I'll pay more for the room.
Yeah,
you don't have to feed me.
Yeah, he's like, how much are you paying? $75.
Like, wait, why hasn't she just married this guy by now and let him buy her some food and
that's true. If she is so canny about these economic opportunities, like why hasn't she seen the writing on the wall there?
Maybe that's the most 90s thing. She's an independent woman.
Oh, she doesn't want to be taken care of by
she
some
doesn't
man.
want to be like, I think that's kind of cool that she's not like, that's not even something that she's like considering.
Well, I guess so, but maybe we're reading too much in, because she seemed totally oblivious to his efforts. If she had said like, look, I'm not.
Dorothy Jane seemed more like canny than her mom in that regard. She was like, this guy obviously like has it hot, like has the hots for my mom, because he keeps bringing this one stool to be reupholstered like over and over again. But like Dorothy Jane like has like caught on to this, whereas her mom has no clue, that she just thinks he's like dumb, I guess.
Really indecisive about his ornaments.
Like, all right, like I guess I'll like reupholster it again. I don't know. She doesn't even seem annoyed by him. Like, I feel like if I didn't realize a guy that's his flirting move, which is so funny, but like if I didn't realize a guy was like flirting with me through his ottoman, I would probably be like annoyed with him. I'd be like, look, man, I don't know how many times I can reupholster this ottoman for you. I'm happy to take your money, but like I cannot do this anymore. You gotta take it to someone else.
I thought it was a decent pilot. I think they made it too busy, but I'm continually surprised that anyone wants to hire child actors to do anything. I mean, they seem like they're such a pain in the butt.
Did you see that trailer for Kid 90?
No.
Did you see this? Oh, it's like a Hulu documentary. Soleil Moon Frye. It's like a documentary made of like all this footage she took. Wow. She filmed when she was like a teenager with all of her friends in like LA and New York. So it's like all of this weird footage of like Jonathan Brandis and Mark Paul Gosselaar and all of these like 90s teen actors sort of like being real teenagers together.
Oh my
Wow.
God,
It looks,
I have to see this.
yeah, when I saw it, I almost sent you the trailer because I was just like, we have to watch this.
What's the name?
It's called
Kid 90.
Kid 90, and it's just going to come out on Hulu in a week or something.
Who has a What You Watching?
I do.
Okay, what you watching?
I've been watching new things. You should be proud of me. So
I'm proud of you for watching all of ER.
Okay. So since ER's over, I'm like, now I'm gonna catch up. I started watching The Queen's Gambit. Like everyone else watched it like months and months and months ago, but
I haven't seen it yet. What do you think?
Oh, okay. So I was just like, oh,
people talk such shit about it, and then Greg wouldn't watch it with me, and I didn't feel like fighting it. But
yeah, I feel like it's okay. It wasn't. I don't think it's like amazing or anything. There's a lot of like questions I have about the use of tranquilizers where I'm like, I'm not sure this is how tranquilizers work. You know, like it's like this little girl who gets addicted to tranquilizers in an orphanage and it helps her play chess better. And like, there's these scenes where she like takes these little green pills and she's like on her orphanage bed, like little orphan Annie, and she's just like laying back and she like sort of hallucinates like a chessboard on the ceiling and is like playing chess in her head. But like these like chess pieces are so phallic looking, the way they've rendered them, it was just really distracting to me.
Is this a world where drugs are just given out for free?
Yeah, well, it's just like she's in this orphanage and like they just drug up these kids.
Oh.
And which I'm not sure that's the way it ever worked either. It just is very casual. They're like, oh yeah, you know, like you get an upper in the morning and a downer at night.
But it's hard when there's, I mean, that sounds very integral to the plot, and where there's something like that that's pivotal to the whole plot and it doesn't make sense to you, it's hard to keep watching it.
Correct. Like I think that's,
and by you I mean me.
It got better after the first episode. The first episode is like the origin story, and it's like a 8-year-old actor, and like it's in this orphanage, and she's learning to play chess from this like janitor who like hangs out in the basement of this orphanage playing chess all day long. Looks like he never does a job ever once in his life, and he seems to be a chess master. And he also like seems like, do you remember like the old man who owns that bookstore at the beginning of the Neverending Story? Who's like, yeah, get out of here, I hate kids, this book's not for you. You know, it's him. But now he's a janitor and he's like, girls don't play chess. And she's like, but can I play? He's like, oh, I guess, but girls don't play chess. And then she's like, of course, amazing. So like the first episode was like real tough for me. I wasn't enjoying it, but then it like gets better. Like after Anna Taylor-Joy, like she's older now and it's like the 60s. There's a lot of great costumes and set design and beautiful stuff. But also it was tough for me because it's like, it's about chess. So there's a lot of chess games and I don't understand chess. So
do you understand football? Because I don't know how football is played.
I do. That was actually like very, it was kind of an awakening for me, like a little like, oh wow, it's interesting that I'm able to follow sports movies better than chess movies because I actually understand the rules of football. Chess, I have no idea. So basically it feels like you're almost watching a silent film where you're just reading the actors' expressions to see how they're doing in the game, you know? So you're just like, like it's good that they cast Anna Taylor-Joy because she's got these giant eyes and this like very expressive face. So the entire time I'm just like, she's like, oh, I guess that was a good move. Oh, I guess she's in trouble. Oh, she's not happy about that, you know. But like they really could be like, are like putting the pieces in random spots. I would never know.
They should have subtitles just to explain the moves.
Exactly.
Like remember in the newspaper there would be like a chess game, yes, and it'd be the crossword puzzle, and I'd be like, yes, LMQ to 25L.
Yes.
Who am I? Marilyn Vos Savant?
Who's that?
Marilyn Vos. You don't know who Marilyn Vos Savant is?
No.
Sarah, do you know who Marilyn Vos Savant is?
An advice columnist, right?
No, she was like a super genius that had her own. Well, it was a column, but it wasn't advice. It was logic and math problems in Parade magazine.
Oh.
She was like one of the highest IQ people in the world.
Her last name was Von Savant.
Well, that's not her real name. Doesn't that just mean like your genius?
Yeah.
Now that I say it, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, so it sounds like she was going, this was a branding move.
Okay, I mean, this is the first time I've thought of this, but yes, as soon as I said it, I realized that sounds like a pen name, but she is.
Well, it's the kind of thing, you learned her name as a child and you didn't know what it meant then and didn't have any reason to question it. So you never thought about it since.
I have never won a game of chess or Scrabble against Sarah here, my dad, or my husband. I cannot beat any of them at either of those two games, and I try not to think about it. But.
I've only ever played like one game of chess. Aaron tried to teach me how to play it, and I was so bored I just like couldn't take in what any of the pieces did, and I kind of like, sometimes your brain just is like, I don't want to know. But there is a like, it just shut off, and I was just like, I zoned out. Yeah.
And it's not really fun usually.
My most hated game of all games is Apples to Apples.
Really?
I cannot stand that game. It's because the rules are all subjective.
Now that game, Apples to Apples, and the adult version, Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah.
I think I've finally decided to stop playing with them or stop playing those games. But I used to really like them, but I realized after a long time, it was like I was excited to play, and I've always thought I was really good, but I never ever win. No one ever chooses my card, even when I think, oh yeah, this one's great. I've got the greatest match, and I never get recognized, and it's just frustrating and hurtful.
Frustrating and hurtful. Yeah, and it's also like a game that I've always been asked to play by people I don't know that well, and I'm like, well, these games aren't fun unless you already know someone's like sense of humor. They're just not that fun otherwise, because like there's just like a lot more unspoken going on with those games.
We tried to play Monopoly, or we did play Monopoly with Oscar the other night, and I got so bored with it that like I refused to buy anything. Like every time I would land on something, Greg was like, okay, you want to buy it? I go, no. It's just gonna be more work for me adding it up later. Let's just get this over with.
It's all a cash transaction. It takes forever to count out the change. There should be a modern version, and maybe there is. I don't know what.
Well, this was the modern version, Sarah, where there's a little credit card machine, and each person gets a credit card, and it takes even longer because you hand your card to the dealer, and he puts it in like adds or deducts money and gives it back to you. And then at the very end, we see like who has the most money or whatever. But all of your real estate retains its value. So then you've got to add up how much real estate you have. So like, I was just going around the board, not buying anything and just paying rent. I was like, let's just get it over with. I don't want to play this anymore.
No.
I remember liking Monopoly when I was a kid.
You were taking a fall.
It still was always a very slow game. And I mean,
it's known for being boring and slow.
We were kids, my friend Lucy and I, who you both know, used to play, and we would have these marathon games. We'd get together, play all day, and then at the end of the day, like one of us had to go home, and we would tally up like who was in which position, which properties we had, what money we had, and then the next time we got together, we would pick up where we left off. And this would result in inflation. We'd run out of money.
Oh my God, I can't wait for Oscar to spend all day doing something, one activity.
Just like in his room doing something. That's all you want.
Sarah, what you watching? You finished Ozark, right?
Yes, finally caught up on Ozark a few months ago. We're now watching The Crown, which I'm enjoying, very slowly at the rate of like one episode every 2 weeks.
Old school.
But I like it a lot. It's very lovely to look at all the 50s. We're in the beginning of the second season, so we're still in the 50s.
I couldn't get through the second episode of that show. It was so boring. I mean, I was just so bored.
Oh.
But
I expected to be bored, and I expected to have
honestly, I thought Mad Men was boring and everyone else liked it.
See, I love Mad Men, but I understand why you would think it's boring. But I haven't seen the Crown yet. That's another one on my like list. It's like I have like so many things on my list that I'm like, I'll get to it one day, and it just keeps getting farther and farther away.
I think I'm okay with slow and boring. I intentionally try to have a longer attention span because I know that with social media and the internet, like my attention span has just gotten shorter. So I try to watch old movies and old shows that have a different pacing. I think the problem with The Crown is that there's no real surprises to be had. Like the history's been written, right? I mean, I'm sure some people are curious about behind the scenes stuff with them, but I'm trying to make an excuse for myself that like maybe if it was an unknown story and I was like, oh, what's going on with these guys?
Well, I don't know. Are you like
how much
well versed in that particular category of history? Like I didn't know about the scandals of the royal family in the 50s.
Especially the 50s. Like there's like all the stuff with like Princess Margaret and things like that. There's some stuff that you would probably not know.
And even the political stuff, like I'm learning more about it through the show that, I mean, to the extent it's accurate, I don't know.
Here's the thing. There's so many TV shows that if there's even the slightest twinge, if I don't want to watch this, I'll drop it. And I want looking for an excuse to not watch something, right? And just go to the next thing.
I feel you on that. There is a lot to watch.
The high bar.
Yeah.
I sped through it by myself, but it's called Behind Her Eyes. A thing that when you log on to Netflix, it'll be like, this is number one.
Yes,
like,
I saw
what's this
trailer yesterday. And Netflix is so good right now, the way they...
I know. I'm like, well, it's number one.
On anything, and they start showing you stuff.
But you know who that girl is?
Bono's daughter.
Bono's daughter.
Oh, so what is the plot? I mean, I was immediately taken in when Netflix immediately started showing it to me.
I will save you 5 hours and tell you the end of it.
Well, I don't know.
I started watching it. I got 10 minutes into it. I was like, the acting's really bad. I went to go like read about it, and everyone was like, whoa, the ending. I was like, all right, I'll watch it. I'll shuffle through it. And now that I know what it is, I think it wasn't really worth watching 5 hours of it.
That's kind of what I've heard about the show, like that like there's sort of like a WTF ending, but it may or may not really make sense,
It's so hard with these gotcha shows. It's like when you start watching an M. Night Shyamalan movie and you're like, what is it? What's it? And all you're doing is guessing what it is because you know it's going to be something. And that's the way it was with this show. I'm like, what is it? Is she a robot? What's going on? Is she an alien? Is this all a dream? I mean,
Rachel, you're so funny.
Rachel, you've always been like that. You're watching a movie trying to guess where it's going. And it's, watching a movie with you keep trying to guess. And then you're really proud if you've guessed correctly. And yes. I'm not trying to guess. I'm just trying to take it as it comes.
But that's what Mom does too. Oh, I knew that she was the one who took that money. Didn't I say?
You're like, okay, good. Yeah, yes, good for you.
I'm not doing it on purpose. I mean, it's just like.
No, but it is. Yeah,
you can't help it.
Where your mind goes.
That's where your mind goes. Yeah, and I enjoy
well, it's a mystery.
I
mean, I think a lot of these shows are mysteries. There's like you're watching three people. You're like, I don't know what she's doing. I don't know what he's doing, and I do not know what she's doing. So I mean,
but in what is it called? Behind Her Eyes. I thought it was the trailer was gripping, or it was interesting, but it sort of, as I was watching it, I was like, wow, this looks really creepy. And it also looks like it's trying really hard to look creepy.
Yeah, I do want to say, I thought of a Mad Magazine parody name for the Torkelsons. So they would always like talk about TV shows or movies, and like the title was always like would make fun of it in a way that it was like, oh, it's boring or dull. So it'd be like Basic Instinct would be basically It Stinks. Top Gun is top dumb or whatever, I mean, so
are you gonna say Torkelsons?
Yes, of course. Okay. I'm gonna say Torkelsons. That's what I was leading up to. I was like, I thought of it, I was like, yeah,
I was waiting patiently, Val, but I could not hold it in any longer. You gave me too many examples.
See, the whole time you were talking, she was trying to guess what you were gonna say.
I know she was.
Listening to you.
You were like, Sarah was being so nice. She's like, I know what she's gonna say, but I'm gonna let her say it. I really wanted to say Torkelsons.
I really wasn't taking it. I wasn't jumping ahead. I was taking it as it comes.
All right. Well, I'm turning into a pumpkin.
Yeah, me too.
Time to go to sleep. Thank you so much for joining us, Sarah. This was super fun.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
I appreciate all your hard work and notes and observations of the show.
It was lovely to talk to you,
All right, good night.
Rachel and Sarah.
All right, thanks again.
Bye.
Bye.
These empty pockets need a helping hand. Kitchen table for the family.
See, I'm looking at kitchen tables full of family, but it's kitchen tables for the family is what I thought. Okay.
I did too. I also, when watching this last night, learned that I, for the past 20 years, had many of the lyrics wrong. I thought it was the new day looks promising and everything.
I mean, the lyrics don't make sense because it says the sun comes up and the moon is shining. So why are they both up?
It both happens. It means like the world goes round. The sun shines bright. The sun comes up, and then the moon shines bright.
They're living
like continuous. Okay.
They're living day to day. You know, it's.
People say God looks out for the working man.
Sure hope he's looking out for me.
These empty pockets need a helping hand.
Kitchen tables for the family. And then the
sun comes up.
And the moon is shining big and bright.
And the new day promises
that everything will be all right.
And the new day promises that everything will be all right.
Oh,
oh boy.
I loved it.
This has been Sliders and Wings.
Worse and worse.